So the next show I watched, I think the show is called Yawara. Overall, I guess I liked this one, thought that it had something that could have made it worth the watch as it went on. The only thing, admittedly, that really gets me down about the show is that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interesting drama. In other sports shows, the main appeal to me has always been when the main character has to overcome obstacles and deal with the toughness of the sport and ultimately learn and understand more how to deal with conflict. You know, for example, in Ippo, we get to see how weak he was, you know, when he got picked on in the very beginning. You know, in general, he was just very mentally weak. You know, the character never found something that made him so passionate before, and at that moment was introduced to boxing. He knew what his calling was and that he could, you know, be somebody one day. Ippo got to figure out for himself through boxing the meaning of strength and, you know, when it means to be strong. And even I admittedly have problems with the character of Ippo being, you know, pretty boring at times. This, however, is what makes him interesting, and really the whole show in general is the theme of learning about what true strength is. We see in these shows how characters put everything they have on the line just to win, and also how their success and failure affects them on a personal and, you know, emotional level. You know, just something I wanted to mention because, you know, every time I watch a sports anime, you know, I have more and more takeaways. Despite not having too much to say about the show, while I was watching this one, I just had a realization about sports anime in general. I can see how watching this girl strive to be the best at judo could definitely be interesting, but it was explained that she doesn't really want to be a part of the sport. Her grandfather wants her to. Maybe there could be, obviously, something that could reinvigorate her, but that's something better be interesting. Because if I don't care about the main character's involvement with the sport, then why care at all? Her wanting a boyfriend at this time of her life makes sense, and it's relatable, but I just wonder how this could ultimately tie into her judo. I'm not really interested in seeing, you know, endless gags of her falling in love with pretty boys and then her judo life interrupting. I thought the characters were all entertaining and funny, however, I don't know if it's all enough to keep me watching. I will say I will watch more in the future, maybe. Who knows, maybe I'll get to see whether or not her involvement with judo becomes more intrinsic to her true ambitions in life, you know, or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, if the character throughout the entire show just doesn't really care about the sport or whatever, then personally, in this particular instance, I don't care about the show, because, you know, the character itself isn't interesting, her life isn't interesting, the other characters aren't interesting, and if she throughout the show just doesn't care about the sport, then whatever. But who knows, maybe things change, maybe she gets back into it or whatever, but I don't know, just not that interesting. Ultimately, I would give it a 6 out of 10. Not the greatest, not the worst, but it is interesting and it could go either way as far as being good or shit. Alright, so next up we have Patalliro, or whatever. So I'm just gonna come out and say it. This show is just fucking terrible. All in all, the synopsis of the show is fucking confusing and boring and isn't explained the greatest either. So I'll just read what they said on Mal. Also, this show to me is just, in my opinion, is just obvious pedo bait. With this ugly-ass little boy, you know, trying to make passings and sexual remarks at older men. It's disgusting. I guess this pretty boy guy, you know, the butler or whatever, was sent to look after the main character, Patalliro, I guess his name is. And the whole time, he makes it very clear that he wants to get his ass cleaned out. For some dumbass reason, the two of them have to share a bed. It's just fucking just lame and awful. 1 out of 10. Do not watch. Absolutely. Just stay far away from it. Another show I watched was a show called Kappei, or Kappei, I don't know. I thought the show was fun, and the humor was there, and you know, it was all charming and lighthearted. Ultimately, the show is basically about this short guy named Kappei who joins, you know, different sports, and I think the whole show revolves around him joining different sports, and mainly just to hit on women. I thought originally that the entire show was about his involvement in a basketball team, but as I skipped ahead, I saw that there were other sports he partakes in later. Because he's a cartoony short guy, he cheeses every match in ridiculous fashion. He just uses the Toon Force to win basketball. And it's funny because all the tall players are so freakishly tall that they can't catch this comically short guy. I found a lot of the jokes that, you know, Kappei played on the women were pretty hilarious. I definitely want to watch more in the future. I don't know, I don't think the quality of the show is that high, you know, it's not like the humor was pretty one-dimensional, and I don't know, I could see the show getting old fast, but I might give it a generous, strong 5 with 6 out of 10. It is a little mediocre, but it has some funny moments. So the next show is called Miyuki. Ultimately, I just found the show to be a bunch of stupid kid shit. I don't want to watch teenagers sniff each other's assholes with nothing to look forward to. The synopsis of the show is that this kid lives with his stepsister, and his dad isn't home a lot. And in his personal life, he has other hoes in the mix as well. I didn't exactly see the sister dynamic because it didn't happen in the first episode. In the one episode I watched, the show basically starts off at a beach resort during a spring break, I think, and the main character's friend had an uncle that ran the resort and invited him. And of course, you know, girls his age were also invited, and hijinks ensue. The main character and his friend sneak around the girl's room, and that whole cliche thing happens where they have to hide somewhere, and with the other characters being unaware of what's really going on. The main character talks sweet to this girl, and then he accidentally reveals that he nabbed her swimsuit, and he gets slapped and called a pervert, and it's just stupid, silly goose, teeny bopper shit that I just don't care about. In general, we could obviously see that this is some kind of a coming-of-age show with the characters still trying to figure out how to deal with girls and just them, I don't know. Funny thing is, I found this comment from the website I watched the show from, another one, and it sums up my problems with the show perfectly. This is one of those shows that do not wrap things up. If you're like me and shit like that bothers you, then you're better off skipping it. If you're not, then have at it. It's fun. So obviously this person has seen the entire thing. I really don't want to be dicked around when I watch a show, and if the characters don't grow and mature in an interesting way, and then it's all just a bunch of cutesy, oh, I'm a horny teenager and I want to fuck you shit, then I don't care. Now, I haven't seen the rest of the show, so I don't know if it gets better or if I'm just nitpicking, but this episode really feels like it's going to set up a bunch of silly, awkward situations with high schoolers being socially awkward and horny with no purpose. Oh, G. Gallagher, the cute girl, might like me. Oh, what should I do? Who cares? I would like to watch more of this in the future, but as of right now, it's a strong 5 out of 10. Alrighty, so Miss Machiko is the next show. I'm not going to waste my time with this one. This show is about high school boys who are, I guess, lucky and they have a slut teacher. They do many things to catch a glimpse of her perfect body or I guess fucking turn her on. Like fucking blowing up her skirt or tricking her to go over a fountain so that they could shoot water up her pussy. After a while of these pranks, she eventually gives up and joyfully, I guess, shows off or whatever. I also found it weird how in her introduction she showed a collection of sports that where she is slutting herself off. Like, what would be the purpose of that? It's like, the show just doesn't make any sense. It's completely cartoony and retarded. 3 out of 10. Piece of shit. And is also painfully unfunny. Although I will say the short, torquey teacher continuously trying to get at her was funny, though.